All right, welcome in. As the holidays are hitting, but hey, we don't stop. Show and BK ain't going nowhere, even though it's what's Good Friday, and the Chiefs got a game later on. Not Good Friday, no, that's Easter. What is it, Black Friday?
I was going to let it keep going.
Nah, man, you can't let that keep going. Yeah, it's Black Friday. Yeah, that's right, Black Friday. Don't worry, and hey, and we'll be out on Good Friday too. Damn it! So just make sure you stay up for that in April. But listen. I don't no foreplay today. Just getting right in, and I know you two know a little bit about that as BK makes kids and Steve has good hair, but I can we just get one time this year, and maybe I'm being too hard on him. Can we just get one moment this year to see the Chiefs be who we all believe they are? Like when I say we all believe that they are, and maybe some of you have shifted your thoughts. I still believe that the Chiefs, who are 10-1 with the best record in the AFC and the best record in football, I still believe they are the team to be trusted the most. They are the team that, to me, I am not betting or picking any team in a big game against them. I don't care if the Lions are scoring 60 leading up to them. I don't care what Buffalo does and what Josh Allen does. I don't care what kind of eject button that Lamar Jackson has that can do whatever he wants at times. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care what the Eagles are doing, and they are looking good. I am not going to pick any team against Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and this crew in a big game. But damn it, can we please see evidence of it at some point? That's all. I just need one game, fellas. Just one game where it's like, there it is. That's it. That's somewhere around an A performance. That is somewhere like, go ahead and bury a team, or go ahead and just, hey, we're getting pressure on the quarterback, we're getting turnovers, getting sacked. But the closest thing to it is maybe the Ravens game to start. The Saints game, it looked like it was going that way, but still, you can't say that was it because they got a turnover in the red zone. They're kicking a bunch of field goals still in that game. I just need one. I do, but like I said, I believe in this team. Serda, I know you've said this on the post-game show where, hey, and on Daily Fix, hey, like this team has shown us time and time again. And I agree with you. I just want to see one game, right? You got 6 of these puppies left. Can we just see one in which you look like what we say you are? And that is, should be the favorite to win it all.
And Ron, I think the hard part for me is I don't know what that game looks like. Like last year, we didn't know it at the time necessarily because we were still trying to see like, okay, is this offense just completely broken? What does the fully formed version of the Chiefs look like? I think looking back, we saw their A game against Miami. Now, it wasn't like high flying. It wasn't fireworks. It wasn't anything like that. But they won that game 21-14, and they pretty much had Miami at an arm's distance the entirety of that game. They won by one score, but they won it with their defense showing you exactly what they were going to be for the rest of the season and ultimately what they were in the postseason to win you a Super Bowl. So I think that was at least something resembling their A game. This year with this version of the Chiefs, and I have like a line of demarcation as that San Francisco game because that's when Jalen Watson went down and everything defensively has changed since. I don't know what their A game looks like. Like, is the A game for this defense now being slightly above average? Is it being good instead of being great? It's something that I'm still like, I have an open-ended question of that. And with the offense, I think we've seen in spurts recently, like against Carolina last week, I thought they looked really good offensively for the most part, outside of a couple of drives. Tampa, same thing. Vegas, same thing. Buffalo, it was fits and starts, but they played okay offensively for the most part. Like, what does their A game look like right now? That's still something that I have a real question of. And it's something that I think a lot of fans are having to grapple with right now, where a lot of fans that are just all in on the Chiefs will say, hey, they did this last year. Like, give it time. They'll figure it out. And there's some truth to that, but the defense was elite at all times last year. I don't have a single unit this year at this point that I can say, okay, they'll figure it out because of that. And that's something that is difficult for me to grapple with.
See, like the Bengal game, we could see it. The one towards the end of the year, so that we could see, like, all right, they're playing defense, they're getting pressure, and hey, they're just getting to 20 plus. They scored a touchdown, they kicked field goals. You could see, all right, that is going to kind of be the path, and that's kind of what happened. They turned it up a bit, Kelsey, especially in the postseason, and I could see that. I just know their A game ain't 30-27 fighting it. Like, I mean, come on, man. They handed, as I've said this week, Patrick Mahomes and the offense handed the defense a 20-6 score with 44 seconds left in the second quarter. They didn't see the ball till 6.5, and 10 more points had been put up on the board for Carolina. Like, that's not there. They're better than that. And they're better than what they allowed with the Bills. And they're better. It's just we can see it because there are just so many countless, to me, self-inflicted mistakes that they're making. Like, and things of which, like, come on, man, Chris Jones and George, like the guys across that defensive line are better than in 2 straight weeks, can't nobody touch the quarterback on pressures. Like, they're better than that. Like this, some of the turnovers, they're better than that. Tackles may not be, but they're better than that on certain things. And we can see that. And against a Raiders team that they should dominate, right? Like, some of it is the opponent that you're looking at. A Raiders team coming up later on today, they should dominate. Like, I want to see that. And like, we just got to see some evidence of that.
I think we just have to come to terms with the fact that their A game is just going to look different than any version of an A game that we've seen from this team before. Because last season, it was elite defense and just don't turn the football over and kick field goals, just get points and don't have negative plays, and that'll be enough. And then in years past, it was, hey, Mahomes, we need you to go drop 35. Like, it's just that I think the Chiefs are much closer to the pack, like personnel wise, than they have been in the past. And so I think their A game is like 27-13 win, where it just doesn't look super close the entire game. And they put up enough points and they don't get turnovers and they make enough plays. And instead of just being like, oh, they're going to go out and dominate this week because at least on one side of the ball, they're totally elite. I don't know if they're totally elite on either side of the ball right now, but they still have enough playmakers. They still have Patrick Mahomes, and we know that they'll make plays when it matters the most. So that's what it is now, and we just have to accept that because the days of 35, 40-point offensive outputs are probably gone, and the days of the defense not allowing more than 28 points a game for a calendar year are probably gone at this point.
Here's my question for you, Ron. If I told you the Chiefs have a top 5 offense the rest of the way, so from here until the end of the season, or a top 5 defense the rest of the way, what do you think is more likely for this version of the Chiefs?
Oh, I think they'll have a top 5 offense. I think that's more likely right now with this group and with the defense. I think the defense could still be a top 10 defense, but I think it's more likely to have a top 5 defense. And also to the point that Serda just made, that's fine. I'm not saying the A game has to be what the A game was in 18 or 19 or hell even last year. But like you said, like, we haven't seen what you described, Serda, but maybe what, the Niner game?
That's what I was going to pinpoint. And we haven't seen it since Jalen Watson went down.
Yeah. Like we seen that like one time. And even in that game, there's multiple turnovers, and there's like it wasn't clean. Like, it's multiple turnovers and just silly plays in that game, right? And so, I just show me some of that. Like, I can understand 27-13 if they came out and beat the Raiders 27-13, and they didn't have silly turnovers or whatever, and just brain drop things that happen. That, like, I'm cool. You could win with that. My thing is, I know their A game, if we, like all three of us right now, we all believe that the Chiefs can win the Super Bowl, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Serda is nodding for our listening audience.
Yes.
Thank you. That can't mean you can't handle Bryce Young and Adam Thielen. Like that, right? Like if we all believe that, your A game can't be, Bryce Young and Adam Thielen, we can't handle them. Fourth down, 1-on-1, Adam Thielen is creating that level of separation. All right, in the end zone, we can't cover Adam Thielen. All we can do is interfere with them to set it up first to goal at the one. Like that's what I'm saying. That cannot be their A game. I just won't believe it. Can't be. Yeah, A game can't be we can't do nothing against the Broncos. Like we can't cover the Broncos tight ends. Like that cannot be the A game. So that's just my thing. Can we get some evidence of it?
So this is going to sound alarmist, and I want people to know because what I just said is true. I believe the Chiefs can and, frankly, will win the Super Bowl.
Well, this will fit right into you. This is a guy who quit on them last year.
No. I'm not out on this team. I still very much believe in this team. Last year, I did not enjoy watching any of that season. I've really genuinely enjoyed watching, for the most part, what they have put on film this year, even though it's been very frustrating for a large chunk of the season. My fear with the Chiefs, Ron, right now, is that they have gone a step too far with their corners. And everything is interconnected. Because when you see a pass rush right now that is struggling to get home with their front four, and you see linebackers that, even at their best, are liabilities in coverage, even if you think they're a C, like that's the worst part of their game. The safeties are better in run support and with being able to disguise coverages, winning with their minds more than they are one-on-one coverage guys. And now you have two corners in every single game that you do not trust. When you combine all of that, it becomes really hard for Steve Spagnuolo to put together any kind of a game plan that makes sense. Because if you blitz, now you've got corners that are set up one-on-one and safeties that are lined up one-on-one with slot receivers or tight ends. When you don't blitz, you're not getting home, which means that the coverage is having to hold up a little bit longer, and they can't do that right now because they don't have the dudes in there. You have Trent McDuffie, who spent the majority of last season in the slot as a real legitimate weapon, taking away the middle of the field and blitzing occasionally, which he's really, really good at. This year, since the injury to Jalen Watson, he has played a total of 9 snaps in the slot. So he's exclusively lining up on the boundary, which means if I'm an opposing offensive coordinator, dude, I know exactly how I can get my best receiver an opening. I put him in the slot, which is where I want him to be anyways, because it's an easier position to win from because you get the free releases. You don't have the press coverage as often. It's just an easier place to win. So, and you got a two-way go, right? I can either go inside or I can go outside if I'm lined up in the slot as opposed to outside where you're mostly either going vertical or an in-breaking route. So all of those things bring me back to it's really hard for this defense to win right now. They don't have the pass rush that's overwhelming. They don't have corners that make things difficult for you offensively. And that leaves them very vulnerable. And we've seen that over the past few weeks with Tampa, Buffalo, and Carolina all taking advantage of their deficiencies. If those teams can do it, the Ravens can. The Chargers probably can. Sounds weird, but Pittsburgh might be able to because of the specific way that they attack you vertically with their receivers. That's what my fear is right now for the Chiefs. I still think they're winning the Super Bowl. I don't know how, but I think they're going to find a way to overcome those issues. And I think it all comes back to Patrick Mahomes. I think the pressure has shifted, and it is once again back on the offense to become a borderline elite unit when the chips are down again.
No, I do think there is a bit of a shift moving with this team that's maybe having to happen in the middle of the year. Now, I'm not quitting on thinking that this is just the defense, right? I think there are some certain things that need to be done, right? And I think something you brought up last week and with the defense in particular, they have got to they can't have Shamari Connor, Brian Cook, and Justin Reed all on the field with one of them have to cover a receiver. Now, I'm fine with them covering tight ends or backs, but not having to cover a receiver. And if that, I think you brought up the thought of, hey, bring Joshua Williams, him, Williams, and Johnson on the outside where it's easier to help them, and maybe they're more comfortable, and then just putting your best corner in the best spot that he plays in the slot, and make it. Now you got McDuffie, and you have 3 corners out there, because I am about up to here seeing safeties on wide receivers on big third down plays, and the big part for me is, like, I know this is simplistic, but some of the dudes just gotta play better, and it isn't a deal of like. And when I know that's simplistic, I look at 13. I think he's giving you what he's got. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I think Joshua Williams can play better than what he has, but honestly, like, it's a flip of the coin. Like, I look at those 2 guys. They get Shamari Connor. Like, you can use him in certain spots, but he's got strengths in coverage. Shamari's giving you everything he's got. I mean, it's not an effort thing. Chris Jones can play better. George Karlaftis can play better. Yaddle Minihue, that helps. Turk Wharton can play better. These guys can blitz. Like, they can. Those guys I'm looking at can play better. And if those guys can play better, it changes the defense. And that's my thing. Justin Reed can play better football than he has put out the last several weeks. And I know that is so simplistic, but like, some of the guys you can't ask. The same thing on offense. Like, Wanye Morris is giving you every piece of that he's got. Right? Jawan Taylor, it's a bad signing. All right, he's giving you what he's got. But them 3 jokers in the middle can play better. Like, they're just guys that you can expect to play better football. But I do think, and we talked about this before the show, I agree that in the middle of the season, which Andy has to adjust, and we know he can because he has adjusted last year to play towards the strength of his team. Like, we're at a place where the defense, we were asking, man, my God, I know the personnel is worse, but are they as good, if not better, especially in this league, than they were last year? Well, that's out the window. Like, you can't look at that anymore. And this offense has started to surge a bit. I will say, in the first half and in moments in that game, it looked, outside of some of the pass rush situations, that was the easiest to me at times. The offense looked moving the football. And now there may be, in your kicker situation, which just got worse again, like, there is a deal of maybe you got to start playing towards that offense, especially with what's coming back. Pacheco potentially returning to the fold. Hopefully Hollywood Brown is somebody that returns to the fold. And then there's more young growth on that side with Worthy out there, as you're seeing he's becoming a little bit more of an emphasis in this. So I do think they're shifting to where this is at the very least a 50-50 thing, and it may be shifting over to the offense now with their personnel and where the defense is.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Yeah. Dynamite drop in, Monty. What does he say? Dynamite drop in, Monty. That broadcasting school is really paying off. Yeah. I just don't think you can ride the defense and just, like, they can't do what they did last year or even what they did early in the year, because they're just. They're a different crew.
Totally agree.
Yeah, totally agree, baby. There it is. Way to chime in there on there. All right, let's do what we do. The Chiefs, when the Chiefs have the ball, and I just spoke about him, Pacheco. God, please be back. Listen, yeoman's work from Kareem Hunt. That's another one of those words I just know people say, and I know I'm using it in the correct context. I don't fully know the definition of yeoman's, but yeoman's work from Kareem Hunt. But I need to see some explosiveness to this offense, and especially with him at that running back position. This is like Isiah Pacheco has that. He kind of has that Nick Bolton feel to him, and when I say that is, he is a guy that many times, and you say this all the time, BK, He's a guy that many times we can tend to focus on, oh, his vision's not that good, or he misses the hole, or just some of the negative things, like he's just not great out of the backfield and catching the ball. Whatever. You don't really realize what you have until it's taken away and you see somebody else. And Kareem is playing well for somebody that was on the couch, and he's going to be a useful part to this team. I don't think Kareem just becomes Clyde and just goes to the bench somewhere. I think he is still going to be a useful part of this team, and will be big. And he's great short yardage and a great changeup. But boy, even on his 12-yard run that he got last week, or some of these other ones, you can see. All I can see in my mind is Pacheco in the Jets game last year, or Pacheco in the Bengals game. I rewatched that Bengals game, and I know it's unfair, but Rashee Rice.
You rewatched the Bengals game from last year?
No, the one earlier this year. I rewatched that week 2 that had Rashee Rice and that had Pacheco in it. And I know it's unfair.
It's a lifetime ago.
But the explosiveness and fear factor that offense brought to the table is now replaced with Noah Gray and Kareem Hunt. And both of them are playing their tails off, but it's just a different thing. It's a different feel than what those guys are bringing to the table. And man, I hope Buddy is right and can go, because they are in desperate need of some explosiveness. And I'll be honest, hell, I'm in desperate need of it.
Who do you think leads the Chiefs this year in 15-plus yard runs, Ron?
Oh, Mahomes does.
He's got 3 of them.
He's got to.
McCole Hardman has 2 of them, which is tied with Kareem Hunt. And Xavier Worthy has 1. It's only 2 games. Pacheco didn't have 1. He's going to have those. Like we know with Pacheco, he's going to get those explosive plays. He's also going to hit at the line of scrimmage more often than Kareem Hunt does. Like, one of the things that I've really appreciated about Kareem, he never gets fewer than 2 yards. Never. He's always going to lean forward for a couple of yards, and that's a nice thing to have in a running back. The problem is, like, he's also almost never going to get you 20. Like, so far in his time as the Chiefs lead back, he does not have a single,
only thing he has is in a pass.
Yeah, 0 rushes of more than 17 yards since becoming the lead back. That's just, it's not an effective way to play over time. It's worked for them, but he's carried the ball 155 times, and not once has he been able to get them 20-plus yards on the ground. So when Isiah Pacheco gets back, that's the number one thing I'm looking for, man, is what's that explosiveness look like? And it might not show in week 1. It might take a few weeks for him to really get back into the rhythm of things, and then you see it like against Houston or something. But I'm curious how they're going to break this thing down playing time wise. I'm curious how the touches go. I'm also curious how they do this with Pacheco on like 3rd down, passing downs. Are they going to continue giving those opportunities to Samaje Perine? My guess would be yes, but I would like to see them use Pacheco in the passing game, because he's also got an explosive element there as well. So the split between the two will also be something I'm curious about.
And sort of, to me also with Pacheco, and I know this can be lame sometimes, and I think people overuse stuff like this. There's an energy, though, that he brings, right? It's the closest thing to Kelsey. Like, we've talked about it, like to me, when I see Kelsey get like a 1st down and he decides to act a nut with some sort of a celebration, I'm like, oh, he's locked in. Like, he is locked in, right? Like, the start of that Ravens game, like, you knew he was the playoff game, he is locked in. I mean, he is talking to Kyle Hamilton and everybody. 1st down, he's at Pacheco's the closest thing to that. His energy he brings, he's lost it after a 12-yard run that, like, you got to step. Everybody kind of picks it up. I think that's something that they're missing too, that just added that energy and boost that he brings to the offense. And I know sometimes that's lame, but that is something that you don't. Another thing you don't realize until it's not there.
I think that matters a lot, especially for this team that struggles on a drive-to-drive basis to be consistent. Like, just having that energy and that kind of positive playmaking, or a guy that even if it's a 4-yard run, Pacheco is just going to go out there and bring it every time he touches the football. And I have to imagine, like, if they just add some kind of explosiveness back to the offense, and I would assume it's going to be in the running game, because that's what the Chiefs are better at on offense this season, that hopefully it will lend towards the passing game and creating some plays that way, because that's been the problem, I think, is like, yeah, they can run the ball effectively. Their success rate is awesome and whatever, but it's 4 yards at a time, 5 yards at a time. And if you actually have to respect, like, oh, okay, this guy can rip off 30, that changes things a little bit. That opens things up in the offense. And it's just something that they've desperately been missing in the passing game and in the rushing attack. And this offensive line, for all of its struggles, they're a pretty good run blocking unit. And so it's something they need to lean on, and they need to add an explosive element back to the offense.
Ron, you know who he reminds me of, Isiah Pacheco, cross-sport comparison, is Russell Westbrook. You mentioned how we focus so much on like the deficiencies, the stuff that's not there, and not enough on what he brings to the table. One of the things that Russell Westbrook always brought to the table in his prime was that dude was going to play 35 minutes a night. He was going to bust his ass for every single minute that he was out there, and he was going to be flying around the court in a random mid-November game against the Memphis Grizzlies, and it just drags his team into the fight. And that's something that Isiah Pacheco does. Like, I think sometimes the Chiefs, it's not that they get bored so much as they just, like, these games in mid-November just don't quite mean the same to them as they do for a team like the Denver Broncos.
They need juice. They need juice.
They've got to have somebody bring it out of them. And I think Isiah Pacheco is exactly the kind of player, because of his playing style, because of who he is as a human. Like, he brings that elements to the team that is really, really important, and it's nothing you'll ever see on a stat sheet, but it is necessary to have a guy like that on the roster. And I think they've got a few of those guys. I actually think Xavier Worthy has some of that to him as well, but it's a different way. Like, it's not the physicality.
He's learning how to play at the same time.
No doubt. So it's harder for him to bring that, but Pacheco is definitely one of those identity guys that can bring the juice every single night.
Yeah, and to the point you made about explosive plays, it's not like the opportunities aren't there for Kareem to have more than 17-yard runs. You see them. You completely see that he's just not fast enough to get to it, or explosive enough to get past the 17 yards. It's not like they weren't there. They're there.
He's got one gear now. Like, there's a
good one.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be one thing if it's like, man, they're just getting their tails kicked up front. There ain't a chance to get it. No, you see it. And, like, you'd be like, dang, he was quicker to the hole to get there. All right. Also in this game, I got to say, Patrick Mahomes here of late has been playing at a elite level, right? That's kind of one of the quiet things. Right, like, this is 2 straight weeks where he's got 3 touchdown passes, and he's starting to make plays. Now he had the really bad pick against the Bills to start the game. The last one for me, it's like, hey man, we're down 9 with under 2 minutes. It's 3rd down and long. I'm trying to make something happen, and let me try to fit one in. That's not a normal throw he would make, I don't think, if the game was on the line. But that's something I want to continue to see, and to see if we're going to keep seeing this elite level Patrick Mahomes, because of the points we made earlier in the show. This offense, I don't know if they can handle just good Pat. I think they need to start seeing the better Pat.
I think it's time to start seeing the guy that we have seen in spurts over the last few weeks, because I think Mahomes is playing some really good football right now, man. I know the numbers will not show it necessarily, but man, basically since I would say like the Saints game, I think we've seen a really good version of him. It's just the interception numbers that are the problem, but he's even kind of eliminated some of those.
Yeah, but not of late though. He's like 12 12 touchdowns to 3 interceptions in like his last 4 or 5 games or something like that.
Dude, he's been a really, really good player lately, and he's adding the running game element back into his game. We saw that a little bit last week. That was the thing that was weird to me about the Buffalo game, is that we didn't see him rush a single time.
Like until the end, and they got called back. Like it was on purpose.
Yeah, that felt strange. But anyways, I think we see him go out there, and he takes these kinds of games personally when he gets called out in the offseason with the Kermit the Frog stuff. And then last year they had the Christmas Day loss against the Raiders. We saw them play earlier this year, and the Chiefs played really well in that game. I think you're going to see a potential explosive game offensively for them. The Raiders do not have a very good defense. I know some expected this against the Panthers. I was dubious of it before the game, and as you saw it kind of go, it did not feel like a game that they were going to pull away from them. I think you see 30-plus points this week from the Chiefs against the Raiders, and I think Mahomes is a big part of that.
No, I can, because they had 30 last week, and if they had gotten, and that's the other part is with the defense that's starting to tick you off here of late. If they had more possessions and opportunities, they would put more points on the board. But you can't get off the damn field. And everybody in the last 2 weeks can get 8 to 10 plus play drives. Because the Chiefs are doing that themselves kind of anyway. They're more methodical anyway. And now you're doing it too. And so now it's I mean, you go through that first half, baby, there's like 5 possessions.
The Chiefs had 8 possessions in the game.
Yeah. And
that's become the norm. Like they're just most of these games lately, they're playing 8 or 9 possessions. The Chiefs touchdown, field goal, touchdown, couple of punts, and a field goal to end the game. Like they scored on almost every drive that they had last week. They just didn't have very many drives because, to your point, Ron, they're playing like Army-Navy games right now. Like every possession feels like it's going at least 4 minutes for either team. And when you have that, it just gobbles up the time. And before you know it, boom, the game's over.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, and listen, I think that it's clearly something possible. Can I just say this too, Serda? And I got to give you credit because you have been on this a bit more than others. A thing that can help Mahomes, that magic, and continue to see not just as well as he's been playing, but even better is this offensive line playing better. And when I say playing better, a lot of people tend to go right to the edges and to the tackles. And like I said, when I throw this to you, Serda, you have been one that has been saying, hey, Creed, Trey, and Joe Thuney weren't great today either. I've heard you say that in the postgame with Rocky a few times. And look, they got problems on the outside. Hell, they did brought in a guy who had torn his ACL that was sitting on the couch that may have a chance to play in DJ Humphries. But we know there's issues there. But just like in the last game, like them 3 jokers in the middle were giving up plays. They were, and I heard Mitchell Schwartz talk about like Trey is left to dry on some of these stunts with Juwan, whatever. Nah, man, some of this stuff is coming up. We've watched over the past couple of weeks as well that those 3 in the middle, who I think are all pro caliber, they've got to be in this. It's unfair. It's unfair. Like it's unfair for Patrick Mahomes, who has to make up for his tackles. It's unfair for Chris Jones that he needs to make up for his secondary. It's unfair in some places, but some of these guys got to carry. Those guys are elite. And those 3, we understand that Pat's going to have to deal with some stuff on the outside and have to get creative and look at that. But he should be able to say, I know I can step up. And I know I don't have to worry about pressure just coming right up the middle and on the edge. Those 3 guys they gotta play better than they've been playing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's kind of hard because, like, if you're a Chiefs fan, and this is why I like analytics, and I think that it's a very useful tool, but offensive line analytics are just awful. Like they're terrible because it's like it's for everything that you look at that says Creed, Trey, and Joe Thuney have been totally elite this season. I can go watch a Chiefs game and see them having problems. And And it's, yeah, maybe some of it is probably like they're being hung out to dry because of the Chiefs tackle situation. I totally get it, but you're the guys that are supposed to be the anchors. Like, you're the guys that we're supposed to be able to build around, and hopefully that feeds to the outside to the tackles, and you can help with that, all of that stuff. Like, you're supposed to be the guys that are always reliable, and there's been too many instances this season where they aren't, and that's bleeding into the tackle play, and that's like, and on the, like, just like on the defensive side, like, everything is bleeding into every level of the defense right now. When those guys are failing in the middle, it bleeds across the offensive line and it bleeds into the offense. Like, they simply have to be better. And there's been way too many moments this season where they aren't doing their jobs at the level that is expected from them.
So I actually agree with Serda on this point about the analytics for offensive line play.
I knew you would.
Completely. No, like that they're a problem. They're not very good. There was an analytics model that came out earlier this week on how quarterbacks do from a clean pocket. I don't know if you saw this shared around social media, but Patrick Mahomes and Anthony Richardson are tied for the lowest percentage of clean pockets that they throw from this year among starting quarterbacks in the NFL. It's 30%. So 30% of the time, Patrick Mahomes has a clean pocket that he's throwing from. And the reason why I bring that up is because, to Serda's point, if you look at any of these like win rates or anything like that for the Chiefs offensive line, they're all like at or near the top. So they're winning, but I think some of their wins are because Patrick Mahomes is really good at navigating the pocket. And so if you're looking at like the next gen stats of how far away is the nearest defender, yeah, he's not going to look super close because Mahomes is moving away from him or he's scrambling away from him. But that's not because the offensive tackle or the offensive guard won. It's because Mahomes is a genius and the dude can feel pressure with his spatial awareness, unlike any other player not named Tom Brady in the history of the NFL. So I think he makes the offensive line at times look better than they actually are. The tackles are a problem. Everybody knows that. But the interior at times, I think Tooney and Creed have mostly been good this year. I think there have been moments where Trey Smith does not look as good, though. And I think this number of like how often he's throwing from a clean pocket is representative of that. The Chiefs just don't give him an easy pocket to work from very often. And I think that leads sometimes to the happy feet stuff that we talk about. And this year it's been earned by that offensive line.
Yeah. They've all had Joe had him a moment against the Carolina Panthers that kind of stuck in my mind as well. And listen, because that's what I'm saying is we know that Max Crosby's going to give him hell, right? And even hell, was it Tyree Wilson who just waltzed around Wanya Morris for a sack in that first game? We know they're going to give him hell. You got to be able to depend. It's like last year. Like, listen, and we know MVS, he probably gonna drop a few. But damn it, Travis, you got to catch all of them. Like, we got to be able to depend on you to catch things. All right. When the Raiders have the ball, listen, for me, it's not a lot. The Raiders offense is terrible. I don't know who's going to play quarterback. It may be Aiden O'Connell.
It seems like Aiden O'Connell. Like,
yeah, they brought him back because they
hate Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, they're good on Des Ridder. And why not? We saw him last week just in his time do what he did. But whoever it is, this is not a good offense. And the Chiefs had success in the first game. Now, Brock Bowers is somebody that gave them issues. And Jacoby Myers, I think he had 10 catches for 100-plus yards last week, and he gave him some problems before as well. But get off the field on third down. That's what it is. And that is, to me, the biggest thing with this defense is it's that down. And that was another thing. They were so good on third down the last 2 years before the last 2 weeks. I mean, they would get you off the field. Now, and it's not just third downs. It's 3rd and 8. I went back the last 2 weeks against the Bills and against the Panthers. And this is two different type of quarterbacks. Josh Allen and obviously Bryce Young. And there's no elite receivers on the field for either one of these teams. Like, Amari Cooper's a good player. I don't think he's there's no great receiver out there. They had 8 different times in the last 2 weeks that they gave up 3rd and 8s or longer, 3rd and 8s or beyond, and they gave them up 8 different times. Just as we talked about before, keeping drives going, keeping the ball away from Mahomes and the offense, and not getting off the field. And I mean, and it's resulted in the touchdowns and not field goals. That's the biggest thing for me. The Raiders should not fall into this. The Raiders shouldn't be getting 5 first downs on 3rd and 7 and longer. It's just insane to me. And that's not even counting. There are several 2nd and 11s and 2nd and 12s that they picked right up in the passing game. And you watch it just like I do. It ain't like a lot of great catches are being made or great throws. Now, these are easy throws where there's separation that is created where you're like, what in the hell? 3rd and 12 is supposed to be harder than this.
So this goes back to that Watson injury, right? Like I know people don't want to keep hearing this. It's super annoying, but it's the moment that changed the course of the Chiefs season. And like, if you look at the total yards that the Chiefs are giving up, passing yards, whatever, it all looks the same. Like before Watson went down, 305 yards per game is what they were giving up. Since he's gone down, they're giving up 295 yards per game. So they've actually improved on the yardage that they're giving up per game. First downs, it's 18-19 before and after his injury. But that's not what's happening. We've talked about this, Ron, and we mentioned, hey, the Chiefs are giving up very Chiefs-like drives to the opposition. Well, what are the Chiefs doing? They're converting every 3rd down. So they're getting these like 12-play, 70-yard, 6-minute drives that result in a touchdown for them. And other teams are doing that against the Chiefs now. Prior to the Jalen Watson injury, the Chiefs had allowed conversions on 23 of their 70 third down attempts. That's 34%, which right now, if that was their entire season 3rd down rate, that would be 7th best in the NFL. So a top 10 defense on 3rd down. Since Jalen Watson went down with his injury, they have allowed their opposing offenses to convert 32 of the 65 3rd down conversions, which is good for a 49% conversion rate. Only the Panthers have allowed a higher 3rd down conversion rate on the entirety of the season. So you went from a top 10 3rd down defense to a bottom 2 3rd down defense in the NFL, and it all happened the drop of a hat whenever Jalen Watson went down. They have got to improve there, and I don't know how they do it. Whether it's the pass rush, figuring out what to do defensively by getting somebody else out there at corner. I don't know. I don't know what the answers are here, but they've got to find them, and it's up to Steve Spagnuolo to do so.
It's the most frustrating part about this team right now for me, because over the last 2 games, it was like, well, it's the Bills and Josh Allen, and he always does that to you. So what are you going to do? You just got to try your best to make some plays. And then last week, it's the Panthers, so it's like early on in the game, third and long, and you're like, okay, just go out here and get a stop. Oh no. Oh, Bryce Young's just easily picking up and creating on 3rd and long. And then it's like, from here moving forward, now I don't know that I can rely on them to get off the field, because sure, 1 week it was Josh Allen, last week it was Bryce Young. And I'm just like, okay, now I don't have any faith that the defense is going to get off the field in a critical moment of the game, even against Aiden O'Connell this week and a Raiders team that is very bad.
Yeah, and to the point that you guys are making, that Panthers game, this is the Panthers. They had 3 8-play drives, a 15-play drive. By the way, there was only 2 possessions in the 3rd quarter. A 15-play drive. They gave the ball to the Chiefs with 6:30 left, and another 11-play drive. Like, that's just, come on, man. Like, get off the field. And you had multiple opportunities. I know for you, you've been preaching to see not just a difference in approach, but different personnel. And they don't trust Joshua Williams whatsoever. But we are at a space where, and I felt this way about Wanye Morris. Now I was proven wrong with Kingsley. But we are at a place where Johnson's not doing anything right now to just say, hey, man, he's so to sucker up and he should just be playing all the time. Like, I think you're at a place right now, let's like almost to a point of, hey, man, I got 13, 2, 30. I got all whoever else may be a corner over there. I got all y'all asses right here. All right, 13, you sucked. Get out. Go ahead. 2, get in there. 2, all right, you stunk. You didn't figure it out. You get in 30. Like, nobody should exclusively have the job because nobody is playing. And then until you get a hot hand or somebody who is not hurting you as much. So I was against seeing any Joshua Williams. He had frustrated me that much. But at this point, man, 27, you're in this too. Like, it's got, like, they got to keep pushing until they find something that's better than what they're getting.
So I think the biggest thing that I would do, Ron, is on third downs, I'm taking Shamari Connor off the field.
Yeah.
It's just
somebody, one of those safeties had to come off.
And if you do that, you put McDuffie in the slot, and yes, that means Joshua Williams comes onto the field, and Steve Spagnuolo is very clearly not keen on doing that. But you've got to change something up, dude. This constant, let's roll out the same 3 dudes on every single play at slot and then outside corner in the same spots. Like, it is just too easy for opposing teams to be able to prepare for. You've got to switch it up. And McDuffie, I think, is your best changeup. I think putting him back into the slot, especially on third and longs where it's an obvious passing down, or third and mediums even, that's what I would like to see them go to. Joshua Williams, Najee Johnson, Trent McDuffie, those can be your 3 guys. Shamari Connor is just too much of a liability right now as a defensive guy going into coverage. When he's playing moving forward, honestly, I treat him at corner the way that I treat Nick Bolton at linebacker. When I have Nick Bolton moving forward, I feel great about how that play is going to go. When I have him moving in reverse, I don't feel quite as good about how the play is going to go. So there's value in Shamari Connor. It's just not with the way that they're utilizing him right now. He's been overexposed. It's that old Peter principle where it's like, hey, man, if you ask a guy to do a job one step too high, you're not going to love what the results are. I feel like they have arrived at that place right now with Shamari Connor. So that would be my move.
He's got a real Dan Sorensen feel. Like, just in coverage, I'm holding my breath when Dan's in coverage.
It's got a knack for creating turnovers and making plays. He is just not good at covering wide receivers. He gets crossed up way too often.
He can cover. I was going to say he can cover tight ends too, but Sanders was giving him hell.
Yeah, no. And he definitely can't cover Brock Bowers. Like, this is not the week for him.
Yeah, I don't even know who the hell to put on him. But no, I agree they got to do something back there. But also, like, there's got to, with all of that, I agree. There's got to be a come to Jesus meeting where it starts, and that's up front. Like, they should have an advantage that the pass rush is getting there, and it ain't. All right, sir, to give me my music, let's play a little certified or imposter. Make a statement. You say if it's certified or it's imposter. All right, I'm going to start with you, BK. Here's the statement. The recently signed tackle, former Pro Bowl tackle with the Arizona Cardinals. He's 30 years old, coming off of ACL surgery, has not played in a year. DJ Humphries will be a starter for the Chiefs come playoff time. DJ Humphries will be a starter for the Chiefs come playoff time. Certified or imposter?
Certified, 100% certified. No doubt about it. Got to happen. I think we saw there was a moment last week, Ron, where Wanya Morris got beat in like 1.5 seconds. He wasn't out of his stance yet, and the defensive end was already turning the corner to sack Patrick Mahomes, and that was the moment where Wanya Morris lost his job. I think in that moment, the Chiefs said, can't do this anymore. Can't have it. Because you're going to get into the playoffs, and you're going to go up against Joey Bosa. You're going to go up against TJ Watt. You're going to go up against Daniil Hunter. You're going to go up against whatever the Ravens are throwing out there pass rush wise with their plan, where they're going to make things difficult on your tackles. And when you go up against one of those teams, you're going to need something better. Just a slower death, honestly, is all they're asking for from their tackles. And it's very clear Kingsley can't be that guy. And it's becoming increasingly clear that if you can upgrade from Wanya, you're going to want to do that. I think DJ Humphries offers them the opportunity at a minimum to do that. So, yeah, I'm going to say certified. I think he starts their playoff games.
Yeah, I think it's certified too. Wanye's best fit is as that swing tackle guy, the guy that can kind of move around, and that's exactly where they wanted him to be. And DJ Humphries isn't an elite player or anything, but as long as you get him back and get him healthy, and he looks like the guy that started a bunch of games for the Arizona Cardinals, I think he's going to be a serviceable tackle for them. And that's why they gave him so much money. Like, They gave him a good amount of money for a mid-season veteran signing.
Yeah, I think it's certified. My only thing, I'm gonna say certified. My only thing is, like, he hasn't played since what, week 15 last year. He just, guys, it's one thing for a running back to be on the couch and miss a lot of time like Kareem, but a tackle learning a new offense, even a vet, a tackle learning a new offense, coming in, ACL injury, and being on the shelf and on the couch, or not on the couch, but working, but just not away from football, not playing high level NFL football. I think that may be a little easier than maybe what we're putting on and just put him on. Like, I think people like how quickly he's going to start. Like, clearly he's not going to play this week, and we'll see if he plays, if he is in the thought next week. The money to me says starter. Like, the amount of money they're giving to him the rest of the way says starter. I just do. There is something to, hey man, this guy has not played in a year and hadn't been picked up to where Wanye knows the offense. Like, at least Charles Omenihu is coming to a place and he plays defense. And he's coming to a place that he knows and he's been around. That's my only thing. I think it is certified, but I don't want to just, flippantly throw out, oh, yeah, I know he hadn't played since week 15, and this is a completely different offense that he just walked into this past week, and then he jumps in immediately. Because, you talked about all those pass rushers, a guy coming off an ACL like that who hasn't played football, in a year. That's also a tough one to think, him getting around and getting ready for TJ Watt or getting ready for Rousseau or getting ready for whoever. So I think it's certified, but that's the only part that makes me wonder. All right, prediction time. I'll kick it off. They got the Raiders here. They beat them at home last year, so there's got to be some feel and thoughts of that, to not have that moment on a national TV game. I like the way the offense has been playing. It should be a little cold though, so I'll say 27. I'll say 27-17. This defense, I like, that feels high for me, but I am readjusting how I look at this defense until they give me reason not to. I'll go 27-17.
I've got a higher scoring game as well. The over-under is set at 42.5 in this one. That feels low to me, honestly. I think that's just based on the quarterback situation for Vegas, but I get it. I'd go 31-20. Chiefs win. It's relatively convincing. There's frustrating moments throughout. Brock Bowers has another good game because he's a tight end. He's playing against the Chiefs, and he's a really good tight end. So 31-20, Chiefs win. And we leave next week saying, well, they gave up a bunch of third downs again. Like, how are we feeling? But they get an 11-point victory, and we're all happy about that.
Yeah. I'm going to go 34-17. I don't think the Raiders are good, but I think Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers can give you some problems. They can't run the football, and
34.
Chiefs don't give up anything on the ground anyways, but I don't think their defense is good. So I think the Chiefs will wind up putting up some points in this one.
Please, Pacheco. Please play. Please play. We are out.